Hello and welcome to Katrinas Creations. Today is going to be another episode where we explore a vintage crochet or knitting item. And if you missed last week's, we did this little item here, which happens to be a daisy maker. So if you want to check out that or the rest of the playlist, you can click the link right here and that will take you over to there. Today, though, we are going to be talking about this little gadget. Now, on the regular Saturday podcast, you all were taking guesses, and the majority of you had this right. This is a hairpin lace loom. So, hairpin lace, I will hold up one that I have done so far. It looks like this, with like a center spine going down the center of it. Now you may be wondering, what in the world do you do with this? Because to me it kind of looks like someone's vertebrae. But you actually are going to be connecting several of these together to create like a braided lace work. Yeah, it's pretty when it's finished. To look at it single, it's like, what do you do with it? So the yarn I'm going to be using for this are these three together. These are Dilly Dally from Knit Picks. They are a DK weight. There's 109 yards per 50 gram skein. I will put a link down below to this yarn if you want to check it out, as well as a link to the loom. Oops, which just lost one of the bars. So as well as the loom, so if you want to make this for yourself, you could. So this is a 3 weight. It is 70% Pima cotton, 20% bamboo, and 10% hemp. So like I said, this was some yarn that Knit Picks sent me a while ago, and I did do a review on this yarn. And I thought, you know, I love fall colors, and the way these kind of get folded together, braided like this, I thought that would look really pretty to make a neck cowl out of it. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this. So let me get the camera turned around and I will show you what you need to make this and how to do it. So the items you are going to need are going to be some yarn, some waste yarn. You're not going to be using all of this. I will explain what this is. It's basically to hold these ends. So if I can unroll this, they act as guidelines to hold these loops from getting tangled up. You'll need a darning needle, of course the loom itself, a crochet hook, and a pair of scissors. So the loom itself, there's several different styles, but it's basically 2 metal bars, and then, let me take this off so you can see it, you have 2 pieces that have these different holes that you can insert the bars into. This just controls the width of the hairpin lace that you are making. So mine is a little loose. The bar tends to slide a little bit because this is older. This was in my mother's things. So you can do the weaving between the 2 bars. I myself found that a little cumbersome. So what I did, and like I said, you can do either way, I just found this upper bar got in the way a lot. I moved it down so that both bars were together at the bottom. So here's what we're going to do to begin. You're going to begin by tying on the first strand that's going to go across, and you're going to go underneath the loom itself like this. Here is the tail, here's your working yarn. You're going to just do 1 tie here, and you don't want to pull it tight, you just want it to be snug, because if you do pull too tight, your bars are going to go in, which is why some people put a bar up at the top. So you've got your 1 tie here, then turn it so that it forms an X. Like like that, and then you're going to tie it in a double knot in the back. You want to make sure this knot is kind of as close to the middle as you can get. It's a little fiddly to do this the first time, but and you can tie this however you want knot-wise. You just don't want it to move. So there you go. You can see I've got a knot right in the center here, and it wraps all the way around the bars right there. So we have our knot in the center here, and we're going to begin our first round. So you're going to take your yarn from the front, and you're just going to wrap it around the right bar and just hold it gently with your fingers. You don't want to pull too tightly, you just want a snug fit. Now you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to go through the previous loop. You can see there's a front and a back. You're going to go up through the center. And you're going to grab your yarn, pull it through, and then do one single chain. That kind of locks it in place. Then you're going to move your crochet hook behind the bar, which is why I found it a little cumbersome having this extra bar up top here. It just tended to get in the way. And then you're going to flip the loom using the right, and you're just going to flip it to the left. So it automatically loops this next one around. And you can see we have two loops on this side and one loop on this side. So we're going to form that other loop. Again, we're going to go through the previous loop, which is right here. We go from the underside, underneath it, right in between the two. Grab the yarn, pull it up. We now have 2 stitches on our hook, and then just loop one more time and pull it through both. So again, we're going to move our crochet hook behind, take this right bar, flip it to the left. That causes it to automatically loop around here. Hold it snug. We're going to go into our previous loop. There's the front and the back. We're going up through the underside between the two. We're going to grab our working yarn, pull it through. So we now have the 2 loops, and then we're going to grab another one and pull it through. And again, that locks it in place. So I'm going to do this a few more times and then I'll show you what it looks like. So again, move the crochet hook behind, flip the right bar to the left side, which automatically wraps it over here. You're going to go up through your previous loop, go up through the underside, right between, grab some yarn, draw it through so you have 2 stitches, wrap around, and pull through both. So again, pull it through, flip your bar like this. There's that wrapped around next stitch. You go through the underside right here, grab some yarn, pull it through so you have the 2 stitches, grab it once again and pull it through. Now if you look at this, you can see it is forming a zigzag pattern. That's how you know you're doing it right. If your zigzag is off, then you know you've messed up somewhere. You're going to just keep repeating this till you get it as long as you would like it to be. Now I'm going to show you one that I have done so far. So here's one that is done, and you can see that zigzag pattern. You can see it just goes back and forth like this. It reminds me of a vertebrae. Now, these lines here that are the blue, I strung those through once I completed my work, just so that my loops did not get tangled up. Ask me how I know this. I didn't do that on the first one, and I had a tangled up mess that I almost had to rip out. It took me a long time to sort out the loops because it was very easy to get them mixed up. So you could do this guideline two different ways. You could have both bars on your loom up at the top and at the bottom, and then tie a string on both sides, let it dangle down, and then loop it as you were doing your looped stitches. It would pick it up. To me, that was just too cumbersome. I like simple. What I did is, once I had all of my loops as long and as I wanted them on my loom, I used some of my waste yarn, put it on a embroidery needle or darning needle, and threaded it through. And I will show you how to do that once I get this filled up. Now, the other thing with this, you can make this as long as you would like it to be. Once you fill this completely up, once you fill this loom completely up, you do want to take off this bottom piece, attach it to the top, and then you can pull the stitches off if you're making it longer than what's going to fit on here comfortably. So you can maneuver it, and I did try that as well. But again, you want to have those guidelines in place before you do it, or you're going to have a tangled up mess. So I'm going to do a couple more of these loops, and then I'm going to let you pause the video, and we'll come back once I have this entire loom filled up. So we'll go through this just a couple more times. So I have moved my crochet hook back. I'm going to flip the bar over from the right to the left, and there is our loop, our new loop that we are going to form. We're going to go into the underside of the previous loop, grab some yarn, pull it up so we have two loops, and then go through both. So I'll do it a couple more times. Once you get used to this, it goes really, really fast. Now, if you are doing the method where you've got one of these at the top and one at the bottom, like I said, I don't, because I found it too cumbersome every time I flipped the crochet hook. But with not having the bar up here, you do need to make sure you don't pull it too tight here, or your bars are going to draw in like this, and you don't want that to happen. So you want this to be snug but not tight. And here you can see my zigzag pattern forming. So if you want to pause the video and then come back once the loom is filled up. So I have 6 more loops to go. I thought I would show you how fast this actually goes in real time. So there we go. So as you can see, I kept just pushing this down. If I had needed to get it tighter than this, I actually could have taken off this bottom half here, attached it up top, and then pulled some of these stitches off the bottom. I'm now going to get ready to put the guide side pieces in. So let me just finish this off. To end this, you just are going to create a loop, clip it, I just give it a couple of twirls and slide the end through and then draw it tight. Now I'm going to use my waste yarn and I'm going to put it onto a darning needle. I'll be doing this for both sides, so I'm doing this side first, and I'm just going to, so I get this up close, I'm just going to slide it right in between the stitches all the way down. So I've done the one side all the way down, and if you want to pause the video, I'm going to go ahead and do this other side, and then we will actually take it off of the loom. So here is how I'm going to put these together. I will need more rows than this because I don't know if this is going to be wide enough. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know if I mentioned the colors that these are. This is emerald, this is sweet potato, and this is copper, and this is the Dilly Dally yarn. So now what do we do? Well, we're going to start with these two first. So I'm going to line these up exactly, and I'm going to start with the left side first, which will be right here. And off of my guideline here, I'm going to grab the first 4 stitches, 3 and 4, and I can pull the guideline out of it as I go. So I'm going to hold those first 4 and I'm going to put them on my crochet hook, and then I'm going to grab the first 4 off of the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again I'll pull the guideline out as I go. Like that, and then I am going to pull those 4 stitches, these 4 loops, through the other 4 loops, like that. Then I'm going to grab the next 4 loops. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to grab the next 4 of the copper color. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The copper color is the one I did not initially do a guideline with, and I'll be honest, I learned my lesson well. So I've gotten I've got those 4 of the light tan, and I'm going to pull that through the copper like that. And then I'm going to grab the next 4 of the copper, and I'm going to pull it through the tan, and then I'm going to grab the next 4, and so on. I'm going to just be basically slipping them through each other and pulling the guide line out as I go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to pull those 4 through the darker brown. And then I'm going to move over to the copper color, and I'm going to pull 4 from there. And so on and so forth all the way up. I'm going to pause the video and do this, and then you'll see what it looks like as the finished project. So now that I'm getting closer to the end, I wanted to show you a few tips. It's taken me a while to work this out, but I'm finding if I keep them separated like this and I start shortening the guide line as I go. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm getting ready to do the 4 stitches here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as I pull it out, I pull that guide line out, and you can see my guide line's kind of long at this point. It's trailing, so I'm going to make it, I'm just going to pull it through. You can see it moving right here. Right here. I'm just going to pull it through, so it's just a little bit hanging there. It just, otherwise it gets all tangled up. And I find if I'm doing this and kind of keeping them at a V to each other, they don't get tangled up. So then I'm going to get 4 from here, 2, 3, and 4. Pull out the guide line, and I'm going to loop that. And I'm going to loop this right through here. And you can use a larger crochet hook for this portion if you want to. So I'll do the couple more stitches together here. So there's 4. Again, I get rid of that excess guide line and then pull it through. Now I'm going to the brown. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And oops, I got 5 there, so we'll put 1 back off. Pull that through. Then go back to the gold again. 3, 4. The guide line also keeps you from missing one of these loops, which would really stink if you got all the way through and then realized you've got a hanging loop someplace. That would be bad. So this kind of saves you from that happening. And then the end here for right now, I'm just going to tie it off with a little of this extra yarn. I don't want it to unravel. There we go. So here, so you can see what it looks like. And in my case, it's going to be a cowl. So I'm going to be adding the green either on this side or this side. And here's the interesting part. As I started with this side with the left, you can see this is where the side I started on was the left. When I attach to this side, I want to make sure that I start from the right, that I start with the right and then go left. So this was left, right, left, right. This is going to be right, left, left. The opposite, because otherwise it's going to make your work kind of skew like this after a while. So you want to make sure that as you do these different chain rows, you do the opposite all the way across. Now, as for the loose edging here, and I actually think I'm going to put the green over on this side. So this is going to be my end section of my cowl. This will be the portion that will either be at my neck or at my collar. So the cowl is going to sit this direction, and the green is going to go here. So what do I do with this unfinished top loop? You can do different things, but what I am going to do is a form of broomstick lace. And if you're not familiar with broomstick lace, it is single crochet. And I'm just making a little loop here. And I'm going to take off 4 loops at a time. Again, just pulling them off of the guideline. And make sure they're straight like this. And then, let me see if I can move the camera a little closer. So I make sure they're straight, but then I'm going to give them a little bit of a twist, and I'm going to put 4 single crochets across the top. You can finish the edging any way you want to, but this is just something I just really like, the broomstick lace, and it's fun to do. So that's what I'm going to do with mine. Oop. And when I don't crochet the tail into the single crochet. So here we go. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I'm going to get the next 4 loops. Here they are. Pull the guideline out of them. Oops, I got 5. Okay. There we got 4. Make sure they're straight so they're not twisted. Then I give them a twist, and you want to make sure you always twist the same direction all the way across. And another 4 single crochets, and there's more of my guideline getting in the way again. Another group of 4 single crochets across the top. If I find it's too tight, I'll make it 5 across the top. So you can see that that is what the edging is going to look like on the edge of my cowl all the way across. So you might be wondering, well, what do you do with this edge? This edge, you could literally single crochet and lock all the stitches in. In my case, I'm not, because it's going to loop back on itself like this, and it's going to be seamed together. I'm going to seam the 2 edges together when I finish, so that it will be, you know, in a circular shape for a cowl or infinity scarf type of thing. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And I will see you again tomorrow for our regular podcast. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. We are only a few people away from our next 100 subscribers and yarn giveaway. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.